We have two goals in today's video. The first is to learn about the hepatic portal vein, and the second is to understand why colon cancer commonly spreads or metastasizes to the liver. So to do this, we're going to be using one of Kenhub's 100% free articles. We're going to go ahead and leave a link down the description below for you to check out, and you can even follow along with me. There is so much information in here. You gotta check it out. But I'm going to go ahead and scan back up here, and we're going to look at some of our atlas images. I'm going to hit this magnifying glass icon. It's just going to make it easier to see everything, and there is a lot to see here. Just to kind of orient you, we've cut a portion of the liver and then we are reflecting it upwards. And what that allows us to see is the underside of the liver. You can see like the gallbladder here. The stomach has been cut, as has the spleen a little bit. You can see the small intestine has even been cut right here. This is what's called the duodenum. This is where we're getting into the horizontal and ascending part of it. The transverse colon. We can't see the descending colon because that goes back here. My point is there's a lot that has been cut here, but the thing that is probably catching your eye the most is going to be the small intestine, which are being folded and reflected outside of the body, right? So you can see there's ribs here, you can see there's muscle tissue, you can see the integumentary system. All of that has been opened up, right? We are looking at the abdominal cavity. And what this allows us to see is all of the viscera in here, and we are just reflecting those intestines to the side so then we can see the deeper blood vessels, because all of this is going to be extraordinarily important to what we're going to call the hepatic portal vein. So the thing that it's highlighting right here is something called the superior mesenteric vein. But to understand what that is, we really need to understand this right here, which is called the mesentery. Right? Like one of the most common misunderstandings I see inside of media is like you see this in zombie movies. If someone's abdomen gets cut, like their intestines are just falling out of their body, and that's just not true. Right, the small intestine and the large intestine, they have to be firmly anchored to your body. Otherwise, like you do a cartwheel and everything would get like twisted and turned. It would just be madness, right? The small intestine are anchored to your body via this tissue called the mesentery. The mesentery is going to be like a peritoneum. It's like folded in on itself. But then you also have a lot of blood vessels inside of it. As you can see, there are red and blue lines here that is representing the arteries and veins. And so we just kind of have to ask ourselves, well, what is the purpose of the small intestine? In fact, what is the purpose of the large intestine as well? And that's going to be absorption. All right, so absorption of nutrients is the primary function for the small intestine, and then absorption of water is a function of the large intestine. Large intestine is obviously going to move feces as well, but you have to ask yourself, well, where does it go once you've absorbed it? Well, it is going to drain into the mesenteric veins, right? So these blue veins you can see here, which by the way, the red is going to be delivering nutrient-less blood to the intestines. So basically, it's like you're sending blood to the intestines to then pick up that actual nutrients, and then you're going to start draining it via the veins, and that is going to start draining into that superior mesenteric vein. Now, there's also an inferior mesenteric vein, which is going to be connecting up here, but we're just going to disregard that for the time being and just say that superior mesenteric vein is where basically everything from your small intestine and a good amount of your large intestine is going to be draining into. But then we also have this over here called the splenic vein. And that is coming from the spleen. Now, the spleen is essentially like a gigantic lymph node. It's in the upper left quadrant of your abdomen, just like nestled to the side of the stomach. And this is where red blood cells are actually going to be ripped apart. And red blood cells only last for about 120 days. This is going to help filter blood. This is a gigantic site for lymphatic functioning. But we have blood that is going to be coming from the spleen, and it is going to be converging with that superior mesenteric vein. So if we actually look back here, here's the superior mesenteric vein, and then here is going to be that splenic vein. And what they are converging into is this right here, which is the hepatic portal vein. Anytime you see hep, that prefix hep, that is going to be all about the liver. So hepatic is just saying like it pertains to the liver itself. And so what's happening is we are bringing blood from the spleen and from the intestines now to the liver. Now, it's going to join with several other vessels. We'll kind of like go through the same space, right? Like your bile ducts and then other arteries. And in fact, this hepatic portal vein is even going to split into a left and into a right. And then it's going to go into the liver here. But it's going to go through something called the hepatic triad. This is just where the artery, the vein, and then the bile duct are all going to be coming out of. But my point is, the hepatic portal vein is going to bring that nutrient-rich blood that is coming from the intestines, and it's then going to send it into the liver, into what are called hepatic sinusoids. And we're not going to really get into the deep functions of the liver in this video, but just understand it is bringing blood to the liver in order to be filtered. Right? Because when you eat something or you consume something and it gets absorbed through your digestive tract, that doesn't mean everything is good. And your liver is going to decide which is good and which is bad for the most part, or at least, if it's able to do that. And so what's interesting is technically the hepatic portal vein here isn't really a vein in the classic sense. Because if you remember, arteries take blood away from the heart and veins bring it back to the heart. But this isn't really bringing blood to the heart. It's bringing blood to the liver. And what's even more interesting is that there's obviously, we can see that there's an artery going in here too. Remember, arteries is what's typically delivering blood to something. Well, yes, this is sending blood to the liver to be cleansed, but the liver is going to take advantage while it can and also utilize some of the nutrients coming from the intestines, which means inside of these little like sinusoids, these little like functional areas inside of the liver, basically as the blood is being cleaned, it's also going to be mixing a bit with some of the arterial blood. So you have venous blood and arterial blood, and the liver is just going to kind of mix it together and utilize it while it's cleaning it to kind of just give it everything it needs. It is then going to drain that and send it towards the inferior vena cava, which is this giant blood vessel back here. It's going to keep on going up. And basically on the back side of the liver, you're going to drop through the hepatic veins into the inferior vena cava, and then that's going to go up to the heart, and basically you've cleaned your blood, right? That is what is happening at the liver. The liver does a lot of really interesting things. Producing bile is one of them, as well as like storing glycogen is another. But one of the primary, if not, I guess you could say the primary function would be to cleanse the blood, right? It's there to take that blood from the intestines and make sure there's nothing nefarious in it. And so this is really, I think, going to help us understand the second part of our video, right? We now understand that this is the hepatic portal vein, but it's getting blood from the splenic vein and the superior mesenteric vein. And so the question here is, why is it that colon cancer very commonly, not always, but very commonly is going to metastasize or spread to the liver? And the reason for that is because of this, right? So let's say, like, remember, a good amount of the colon, not the entire large intestine, right? So like the rectum, for example, isn't going to come through the superior mesenteric vein, but everything is going to eventually make its way to the hepatic portal vein coming from here. So let's imagine you have colorectal cancer inside of the ascending or transverse, descending even into the rectum and the sigmoid. What's going to happen is it is that cancer, when you start to get to like stage 3 and stage 4 cancer, that is where it is going to have the ability to spread, and it very commonly goes to the liver, and then it can cause liver cancer, liver failure, and that can be the end stage of that if treatment hasn't been successful. And so, when you understand your anatomy, you can start to understand why things happen the way they do, right? We have a term for this. It's called clinical anatomy. And it's a really, honestly, it's typically very simple once you understand the parts, right? A lot of like that confusing stuff gets kind of just taken away, and you're just like, oh, of course, that makes sense, right? Because the liver cleans blood. It cleanses blood coming from the intestines. If you have cancer of the intestines and it invades the bloodstream, it makes sense that the next logical stop would indeed be that liver. And, that's just going to, it just makes a whole lot of sense. So, reminder, this is a 100% free Kenhub article. We're going to go ahead and leave a link down the description below again. Now, there are premium features in here, like at the very top, our videos are a premium feature, as are, scroll down real quick, our quiz modes. But I strongly encourage you to play around with these, because especially our quiz mode, this in my opinion is the single best way to learn your anatomy, because we have 2 different types, a study session and an exam quiz. The study session quizzes are literally built to teach you as it quizzes you, which is such a powerful way to learn your anatomy. Again, we're going to go ahead and leave that link down in the description below. But thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Hope you learned something in today's video. If you did, please go ahead and hit that like button. Little things like that go a long way. Head on down to the comment section. Let us know what you thought about the video, maybe what you want us to talk about in future videos. But again, I appreciate you hanging out with me, and I will see you next time.